Right. Good afternoon, everyone in this session today. I would like to welcome CK Lee, Dev, Jayesh, Khushbu, Rahul, Raja, Shubhangi, Shivansh, Rahul, Suhasini, Vinayak, Vishal, everyone who has joined so far in the session. Naresh, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Right. So, while we are waiting for others to join in, it would be great if you could share which company are you representing today and which city are you from, right? And your designation, if you prefer to, um, or probably what's your responsibility in the organization. So while we are waiting for others to join in, you can quickly share which organization are you from, which city are you from, your designation, and your one core responsibility. Right. Um, Naresh is saying before that, please can you introduce yourself? All right, while I'm waiting for others to join in, I'll definitely introduce myself. Um, I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in. So in the meantime, those who are already here, if you can just let us know which city are you from, which organization are you representing today, what's your designation, and one core area of responsibility that matters in this webinar. Thank you, Rahul. Rahul is from Pune, and I'll just increase the window size of my chat comment. Naresh is from Khushbu is from Mumbai. Naresh, I'll respond to that. Suhasini is from Delhi and working as a DevSecOps specialist. Rahul is from Pune. Shivansh is from Bangalore. Jayesh is from Pune. Naresh from Hyderabad. Vinayaka from Pune. Lovely, right? So, okay, I am Vandana Mehrotra. I am co-founder of Meteonic Innovation Private Limited, along with my life partner and business partner Ankur Mehrotra. We are in this business of helping software community develop quality, reliable software. Since 2006, it has been 18 long years, but we are still excited as we were on day one to help our software development community get the necessary work life balance, right? uh, so that you don't have to spend time firefighting issues, right? You have the necessary tools and solutions in place that empower you to do your work productively, efficiently, and be a star in your organization, right? So we are your DevSecOps solution provider. We partner with best tools across the globe, and we help companies in India uh, get those tools and make the most of it to reduce your learning curve, to go to market faster, enhance your productivity, reduce your defects, increase the trust and trust with your customers, enhance your reputation, their reputation, right? So with that, I hope I'm audible and I'm visible. Am I audible? Am I visible? Super. Can you just give me a quick thumbs up in the chat box? Lovely. So I'd like to welcome the people who join in a little later as well. So, well, I would also like to thank all of you for joining today's session on the advent of AI tools in software development. Could it be a quality nightmare, right? So, let me ask you this, right? As exciting as AI is in our world of software development, are we paying enough attention to the potential risks it brings, right? As we all know that AI promises speed, efficiency, innovation, but what about the hidden side of it? Could we be compromising code quality by relying too much on AI driven development tools? What happens when automation misses critical bugs or when there's too little human oversight, right? So, in today's session, we will be diving into these crucial questions. We will explore the risks that come with AI in software development, like hidden bugs and the potential for human error, right? So, we'll also look at some of the best practices you can use to mitigate these risks, right? So from quality assurance to ensuring that humans stay in the loop, we will focus on practical strategies to maintain your software reliability and security, right? If you're also thinking how to balance AI innovation with quality assurance, security of your product solutions, let's get started. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the right room, right? So before I introduce the speaker for today, I would like to make some announcements that if you have some questions during the session, we will encourage you to ask a lot of questions. Please post them in the Q&A box so that we don't miss your questions in the chat box, right? And if you would also like, if you like this session and if you would want to have a more detailed um, knowledge sharing session with your team on your specific areas of concern, I will be sharing a link at the end. You can fill up that. So we will give you priority as you have participated in this webinar. We would love engaging with your team and get addressing things that are specific to you, a more personalized knowledge sharing session, right? We'll also be having a quiz at the end of the session. So there are some goodie bags to be won. So stay till the end and keep asking a lot of questions. And if you can also make a note of key insight, top 3 insights that you learned in today's session, it will help you get back to your team, and just talk what you learn in the webinar. Top 3 things, if it is something that you didn't know before and you learned, right? And before that, I would also like to mention, like while I was working with TCS, for about 8 years in my initial years of employment, and through TCS working for Nortel Networks, Lucent, Motorola, when my company used to send me for trainings, and I would come back saying that, well, I already knew that, right? I mean, yeah, there is only one thing that I learned, right? And well, I was already aware of all these things. So when I used to make such comments, my husband, my first guru, he used to tell me that even if you learned one thing that you were not aware of in the training session, it was worth your time that you spend there, because you learned that one thing which you didn't know before, right? Because all of us are learned, and we learn, this is the era of information, we keep learning from so many sources, right? So we feel that I already know this, right? But then you get one deep insight about what you didn't know, or something more detailed about that. So I would request all of you to keep your minds and hearts open to receive the learnings that could add value in your professional as well as personal life, right? So over to Vishal Rai, our speaker for the day. And I'm telling you, he make the most of this session with his presence here. Keep asking a lot of questions, right? Because I believe that once you participate in the session, you learn more, right? Do you also agree that when you participate, when you involve, when you ask questions, you learn more? And you also get visibility among so many people from different organizations, right? If you agree with what I just said, type a Y in the chat box or give me a thumbs up, right? So let me introduce the speaker for today. Vikas Rai is the co-founder of Embol Technologies, a leading code quality platform globally. He has over 20 years of experience in the software industry, ranging from software development to starting his own company in the DevOps space, right? So over to you, Vikas. Sorry, sorry, over to you, Vishal. Uh, can you unmute yourself, Pooja? Can you give?
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Vandana. Can everybody hear me? Uh, Lovely. So I am Vishal. I'm the, as I think, great start, Vandana. Very inspiring. So I always learn from anything, and I think your opening bit was really inspiring, and I think I completely agree with what you said. What I want to share today is no gyan. I'm going to basically introduce the concept of AI as a practitioner who me and my co-founder in Imbold about 14 years back. This is 14 years back in Germany. We realized that learning systems, we didn't call it AI, learning systems enabled through techniques like neural networks or other similar techniques or language models would play a very important part in software engineering. We were just unsure how this would realize. So, but we created Embor. We spent the first 7 years researching and developing, building a next generation of code analysis platform. And actually, Meteonic is our only partner in India, and we work extensively with them uh, to help companies basically find quality issues in your code. But the techniques we've used are different because code quality is a practice as old as software, the as software itself. So this is from the 60s and 70s. The impact of AI, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Everyone is aware that AI is, it's very topical. It is on everyone's, from CEOs to developers, everyone's into it. They realize the potential. But what is it from our experience? And again, this whole talk that I have, I would call it a webinar, is based on our experience. And a lot of it is uh, how when we were building the neural network based features in our platform, what we learned along the way. And this is our observed experience that we're sharing. This is in no way an industry standard. So I just wanted to make this more of a sharing session from what we've seen. I think no one needs introduction. AI is definitely going to revolutionize software development. This is a given. It's just a matter of how, when, and what do we need to do to ensure that we take advantage of this. Uh, and I guess everyone's aware of Copilot, but if you're really following the space of DevOps software quality tools in this area, it's just insane. I mean, I would just ask a question. Have any of you heard of Cursor AI? Uh, okay, so people have heard of Cursor AI, right? And do you guys just has anyone used Cursor AI? And what are your thoughts on it? You just sparked the question, but maybe you can share your notes. Correct. Yeah, it is. It is. In spite of, just to give you an example, Copilot was the start, but literally, when we have a very, popular IDE like VS Code, they went ahead and built a brand new IDE, bottom up thinking AI first. And I think they've completely reimagined the workflows of uh, uh, yeah. I mean, Raja, would you want to share your experience on Cursor AI?
Sorry to interrupt you, Vishal. Raja, do
No
you want
worries.
to say something? You raised your hand. Share something, ask something. All right, maybe it was just by mistake. Carry on.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So, as one of our audience, Raja, is using it. Cursor AI is completely reimagining how an IDE could be used using AI first, and I think this is the essence. People are reimagining the whole software SDLC using AI, and I think that is what makes it exciting. What I want to focus on today's talk, but I'm happy to to, to discuss this after this, is what is the impact of AI, neural networks, and software development, and what have we seen could be some some risks that are very evident, and how we could, as organizations, create some governance around it to to kind of neutralize some of the risks as well. So the promise of AI is known. We could, the people, Codex, for example, the language model that Copilot uses, promises the whole art of new code generation, auto completion, bug detection and fixing, and natural language processing for requirements. And I think this is one of the most understated techniques that I think is going to create massive disruption is when you can use natural language processing. So if you use GPT-3 and beyond, you can literally write SQL queries using natural language. Now imagine the impact of that. If you have a database, could be any database, Oracle, SQL, NoSQL database, and one of the constraints of how you can use the data, build reports, do the analysis, do trending is a function of SQL queries. Now, if you could move that to natural language, just imagine the impact that could have. So this is just to kind of give you a hint of how this whole space is moving so dynamically. However, if it is too good to be true, then obviously it is not true, and that is something we have seen extensively using even language models from GitHub, like the Codex model, Mistral, Llama. AI generated code is good, but it contains errors. Period. I think that is a clear fact today, based on the models today, that has even been studied and validated by researchers in Stanford. They feel that the trust level of code that you can create is low, and the reason is very obvious because today the first generation models, as I call them, have been trained on open source data, and open source data, on an average, I'm not saying particular code bases, are poorer in quality compared to closed source data. So software developed in organizations in a closed source model overall have a higher quality score as compared to open source. So fortunately, these language models are trained on open source data, so the recommendations have errors. Lack of context understanding. This is a real big mathematical problem that no one has been able to solve, and we've seen that. So Imbold has a neural network, and some of the features that we offer include, you can train it from your Git repository, and it can learn all the commits that created an issue and how those issues were fixed. So it almost builds a new checker and a local model. This is not LLM. This is using sequence to sequence. So it's a very energy efficient model. But we've struggled sometimes to understand the context of the error. So this is, by the way, if anyone has any questions, just raise your hand here and I'll be happy to answer those questions. Uh, so I'll just pause here and we'll just run a little poll and see what comes out of it. Yes, Vandana.
Right. So let us, since we have good number of people now, we would like to understand what are your challenges when it comes to the topic of our today's webinar. So Pooja, can you launch a poll? Let's hear from the room. What exactly, what condition are they in? What are they going through? What are their best practices, or what is it they're struggling with right now, right? So here comes the first poll. If you could answer, how comfortable are you using AI tools in software development? Right? Are you very comfortable? You have been using all the time, or you're somewhat comfortable, still experimenting? You're not comfortable, you're very cautious, or what AI tools? I'm still writing the code. What AI tools? It's like that. I'm still writing the code old-fashioned way. So let's hear from the room. Right. We'll wait for some more seconds. Keep your answers pouring in. And those who join in later, let me once again introduce the speaker for today. Our speaker is Vishal Rai. He has over 20 years of experience in software industry. He's co-founder of Embol Technologies, a leading code quality platform. And he has his own company in the DevOps space. Right, and I'm Vandana Mehrotra. I'm co-founder of Meteonic Innovation. We are the most sought after DevSecOps solution provider in India. Right. So while you guys have answered this, let's end the poll and share the results with you. So 58% of the people say that they are somewhat comfortable in experimenting. 25% people are saying they are very comfortable and using them all the time, while 8% people are not comfortable, and 8% are also not writing code the old-fashioned way, right? Can we have the another poll question, Pooja? Pooja, did you? All right. Okay, quickly you can have a glimpse at the first poll results. Pooja, can you launch the second poll? Right. So, what's your biggest concern about AI in software development? Is it bugs and hidden errors, security vulnerabilities that gets introduced, or over reliance on automation? replacing developers altogether. What's your biggest concern about AI in software development? Yep. Yes, your answers are pouring in. We'll wait for a few more seconds before we end this poll and share the results with you. I'm looking for a little over 80% participation. So we got 78, just a couple of more seconds, and then we'll quickly end this poll, right? So I'm going to end this poll and I'll share the results with you. So we have 53% people saying security vulnerabilities, 27% saying over-reliance on automation, 13% bugs and hidden errors, and 7% saying replacing developers altogether. So that's good that you don't think that AI will replace the developers altogether, right? So lovely. Now, Pooja, can we also have the third poll question? All right. Have you ever experienced an AI nightmare moment in your development process? Right? Yes, it broke everything. No, but it was fixed. Yes, it was fixable. Not yet, but I'm prepared. And no, AI has been a dream so far. And we would love to hear your story or your experience, the situation when you had this AI nightmare and it broke everything for you, and when you had this AI nightmare and it was fixable, right? And also when you say that I'm prepared, right? So gradually, when Vishal is going through his session and Vishal will give you an opportunity to speak, I'm sure all of us would be interested to know how you handled this. I will let Vishal give that time to you during his session, right? So I'm going to end this poll and let's quickly look at the results, right? We have 50% saying not yet, but I'm prepared. That's good to know, right? 21% saying yes, it was fixable, and also 21% saying no, AI has been a dream so far, and 7% people are saying yes, it broke everything. So I think we have two more poll questions, but I would request Vishal to logically help us know when to launch those polls. And over to you, Vishal. Yeah. Pooja, can you unmute Vishal? Pooja, can you make him? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that was very exciting. And I would like to speak, and maybe one person said AI completely broke everything. That would be a fun story to listen to. So I'm excited. So I would love to hear what happened.
So do you
So
want to hear
yes,
it? Do you want to hear it now, Vishal?
yeah,
Whoever
yeah,
answered
that would
that,
be that would be fascinating if the person would be kind enough to share. That would be a big learning for everybody.
yeah. So maybe know who answered that. If you can simply raise your hand, we can. You can share your experience. We'll help you unmute, and we'll just wait for anyone who has answered that it completely. Yes, it broke everything.
Or maybe the person doesn't want to be identified.
All right. Maybe
Fair enough.
he or she is making up their mind to speak. We will continue the session. And if you're ready, just let us know in the chat box. And we are very excited to hear your story.
Yeah. So I mean, just to give an example, one of the consequences if you don't use AI in software development responsibly is code reliability. And I will share my horror story. So I was testing out a tool, and actually an AI tool, the bug that you see below was one that was created for me. It was very frustrating. I guess everyone knows off by one error, right, in a loop condition. And I was just trying to be very cavalier and trying to just accept all the recommendations that's coming from my autocomplete code generation tool. And I just didn't realize why there was an error or the output was not as desired. And then I debugged it manually, and I found that it had introduced an off by one error. And I think people know what the off by one error is, right? So if you do programming, just I'll simplify it for you. And assuming you say you got to run something 10 times, right? So you run it from 0 to 9. But because I was using a function that was proposed by the tool, which had probably learned it somewhere as English, because this was using an LLM, it said 1 to 10. So essentially, it overran the counter by one. So it was counting the whole thing 11 times, and my program was breaking. So this is actually a genuine experience I had while trying to use some of these tools. And this is what I've shared. I won't say which was the co-pilot I was using. It wasn't GitHub, but this is an example of how errors are there and you have to be careful. Uh, and also the difficulty in understanding AI generated code. I think this is a big issue sometimes where it just proposes and writes something, especially when you're writing JavaScript or any of these languages. It gets really difficult to understand, and you have to waste so much time understanding it. Defeats the purpose of the platform. So you got to be careful. So the way today I call it, as you to treat your AI, it's like a teenager. Trust it, but verify. So this is one experience that I have on code reliability. Security vulnerability, this is, I saw that most of the people are worried about this, and I think that is right. So in addition to code logic, some of the issues that you face, and I have faced, is it is recommending code which is either from a deprecated library, or it is learned it from flawed data sources. So this is actually a very big issue right now, that OpenAI and Mistral are trying to solve, and this is very popular with hackers. And that is why if you see they are being very cautious about sharing their data sources or the repo sources. But this is a vector target very popular with hackers, where they know, for example, that OpenAI or Mistral is being trained on a popular open source, let's say Kafka. Then they'll introduce a flawed piece of code into it, and they do it very, very smartly. Sometimes they do it as a README file in the doc, and the model learns from that, and you recommend it. For example, I have never seen a flawed code, but I've heard some of the researchers that I interact with, they've experienced it. Obviously, this is very sophisticated, but what I have definitely experienced when I was trying it out was it was suggesting I was trying to secure a piece of code using a cryptographic function, and it recommended me a version or quote from a version which was old and deprecated. So you've got to be careful, and it is these are genuine concerns you have. So if you're doing it, just keep an eye out for that. And third, of course, which your legal colleagues will be very, very cautious, is license, because you got to see where it has learned from. And I guess people know that there is a very huge litigation that's still open between GitHub and the Free Code Frontier Foundation, because there is an and of course this is completely unproven, so please don't hold me to it. But the allegation is GitHub has trained Codex, which is their model which drives Copilot, on closed source data. So like we use GitHub, right? And we don't know whether Embold's development was used as a data source to train Codex, but there are people who are suspicious of it, and it's still in litigation. So this is one big. I would say be very careful before if you're working in a company, and you just want to try out Copilot for your project. I would sincerely request you to talk to your manager or your legal team, because this could create an issue. So I'll use this as a pause, because we're going to go into solution, maybe to run the other two polls, Vandana. Pooja, we could run the other two polls. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay,
Vijay?
great.
Mhm. So how do you see AI's role in software development 5 years from now? Is it completely integrated in the future, or is it still evolving, more refinement needed? A useful tool, but not the core. It'll fizzle out. Humans will always lead the way. What is your belief when it comes to the role of AI in software development 5 years from now? And we'll wait for some more people to respond before we share the poll results. All right. Just some more people can respond. I'm expecting a little over 70% responses to be able to end the poll and share the results. All
Interesting.
right. We have about 40% people who says it will be completely integrated in the future, and 30% saying that a useful tool but not the core. 20% feel it's still evolving, more refinement needed, and 10% says it is going to fizzle out or humans will lead the way. Right? I mean, this particular thing is, would love to have a debate on this topic, but not today, some other time. So, thank you for your participation. Now, Pooja, can you share the next poll, please? Pooja, can you share that again? I think I closed that window. Yeah, I got it. So, which part of the development process do you think benefits most from the AI tools? Is it code generation? Is it testing and debugging? Is it project management and planning? Or is it documentation and code reviews? Let's hear it from you. Which part of the development process do you think benefits the most from the AI tools? Code generation or testing and debugging or project management and planning or documentation and code reviews? So, all right, we have about 82% responses. Um, So I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you. We have about 46% people saying code generation and 31% saying testing and debugging. Documentation and code reviews about 23%, right? So you can quickly have a glimpse at the poll results, and then over to you, Vishal. And if anyone has a question or want to ask anything, say something as at this point, share something, simply raise your hand, uh, or you can write in the chat box if you're comfortable with that. We would love to hear if you have any other insight or any other view perspective on what has been shared so far. We would love your active participation so we know that you are there, you are learning, you're listening, and how is the session going for you so far?
Okay, so uh, this is a very interesting. I think the last poll was very interesting, uh, and it is actually it validates what's happening. So you guys are really on top of it. So great audience. Yes, I think that is what people are expecting uh, for code generation. But because they're expecting code generation to increase dramatically, they're also expecting to increase their investments in testing, and you should as well, because it is not going to, it is just like today, if you as a team could develop 5 screens a day, as an example, you will, through AI, once the models become predictable, be able to generate 100 screens a day. But as for the reasons I had shared before, the quality, the security issues, you will have to get really serious about your quality control tools that you use, the processes that you follow. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare for the reasons I've shared. Because some of the AI generated code is difficult to understand. Some of the issues are very subtle. There are biases in the recommendations. So there is a there has to be very serious quality control for development. And this is the third risk that is being discussed, and it is TBD whether this is valid. But people are suspecting once developers get very used to AI tools, they could lose their ability for problem solving and critical thinking. Because what makes developers really useful is their ability to critically think and solve problems in unique ways, in efficient ways. And what we learn from AI generated tools, especially for code generation, I saw that was the top of the list of the poll. Uh, your 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 recommendations are coming from something that's happened in the past and which are pretty boilerplate. But if you do want to build optimized systems, okay. So there's a question: how to address an IP breach? Uh, Now, uh, this is the, I'll take this question. Now, IP breaches often, and this is, my, often a configuration mismatch, which happens due to a release that happened, and you made a change in the release, and uh, and you saw that someone probably forgot masking the IP address, which, there are sniffers and snoopers around on the internet, and they figured it out. So using AI, so there are two things that would happen if you're using AI learning engines for testing, for example. Uh, the- uh, and so one that I'm actually answering the question very quickly. So one of the things that if you used AI-based testing tools is it will see a pattern that your IP address, for whatever reason, wasn't changed, but you had a new release and there's a change. So pattern matching algorithms will catch up. And honestly, and I'll come to the solution, if you're using AI-based tools, you should improve the quality of mutation testing. So, I mean, mutation testing, I guess people know who do testing is when you subtly change a value uh, in your code and see if the test cases find it. So I think I'll come to the solution because we are still sticking on the risk that I have. So it's a great question, Rahul, and I'll get back to that one.
So Vishal, we
So
also have a
yeah,
question in the Q&A box. Vinayak Shukla is
okay,
asking, Vishal,
yeah,
can you please talk more about who owns the AI generated code?
okay, okay. So today, the AI generated code is owned by the company that is developing it, period. However, if, and this is a risk that is why companies like Apple and Amazon are not allowing code generation. Uh, if you are feeding that code to the general model to make it better, then who knows? I mean, theoretically, the company that owns the large language model, the general purpose models, own it. It is up for debate. So one should be very careful when one is using these auto generation features from open models to see that you're not feeding back. But today, clearly, if you generate code using these support augmented tools, then the company that develops the code technically owns it. Does that answer your question?
Uh, I think it was a bit from Vinayak. Yeah, he says thanks. I think there's one more question, Vishal from Gaurav Lakhani. He's asking how many companies or what is the usage of AI tools in industry for software development processes, especially coding? So would you like to answer that now or take it up later?
Yeah, I'll take it up later. For
Okay.
two reasons, I don't have an answer for that, but it'll give me some time to process it and see how I can assume some
So we
data
have
to.
one more question from Raja.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being such a participative audience in this room today. We really enjoy all your questions. Please keep them pouring because the whole intent is to help you address your challenges, the doubts in your mind, some questions in your mind that we can at this point in time with Vishal's presence. So, love all your questions. Please keep asking questions, right? So, Raja Kumar is asking, is it code generation or code creation support? I see it as more of code creation support system.
If you're asking generically how AI's value is there, it is both, right? If you, for example, if you use Cursor AI, which is, I'm looking at it, you can literally create an application as what they claim. So I have to see how that really works using, a React front end and a Node.js backend. So you can create a new application, and then once you created it, you can use the model to enhance it through autocomplete. So I think you can use it for both. And I think you will see more and more. It will, with smart IDEs, smarter systems. I wouldn't call it AI, but smarter systems. I would see an explosion of applications. So today, imagine if you have an idea, simple, and you want to launch an app on the App Store, Android or Apple. You need a Swift developer, an Objective C developer, someone on the back end. But so you're constrained, if you're not a developer, constrained by the technology. But imagine you could do that. And this is just a hypothetical situation. You could create an app, at a fraction of the cost, fraction of the time, you would launch it. So that is exactly what's going to happen. I think there's going to be an explosion. We haven't even seen of how people will use these new techniques to launch their creativity and launch their apps. And I think that's going to be the fun thing to look at. So to answer your question, using it for both. This is what we see. Does that answer your question, Raja?
Oh,
Okay, great. Okay, so moving forward. So we covered a little bit about the advent of AI in software development. What are some of the use cases? We're going through some of the risk, and I think I would like to share. How many of you remember the Microsoft Stay chatbot? This is one of the first experiments of trying to create a bot using AI. So this is a funny story. So Microsoft ran this experiment, uh, I think a couple of years back when Twitter was still Twitter and not X, where they created a bot and they trained it on Twitter's data. Now we all know how exciting Twitter or X is, right? It's on one hand you get amazing, everyone is there, right? From Elon Musk to the heads of state to AI scientists, but it's also it's literally like a town square in an echo chamber where people uh, just speak crap. So what Microsoft did is, and obviously the ratio of people who just speak crap versus good content is, it just outnumbers the crap content outnumbers good content by a factor of 100 or even 1,000. So Microsoft trained its own, it said, let me create a bot and have it be an automatic Twitter bot. And they trained it on Twitter data. And within minutes, it started, saying foul mouthed, it became the worst troll on the internet. So they had to really switch it off. So this is what can happen if you don't use and think about it. Also, a clear example, and I've seen a question from Raja. Do you see it eat the space of no code, low code 100%? Yes, it will. Low code, no code solutions are, I would call them a placeholder. It is the temporary placeholder for when we moving on to natural language processing. And I think it's going to happen really fast. And actually, some of these low code, no code providers will move there because they are already working on building natural language test case creation tool. So yes, good question and well spotted. Yes, it is. So I would say no code, low code is a step function moving towards natural language creation. Uh, and another issue that we have, and you probably know, is the hallucination problem. And I saw that as well. So I was very excited in the beginning when ChatGPT came out, and I could see if I could write a API script, a Terraform script, using natural language. Say create an API function for this API for doing this. And it wrote it, and I was very frustrated because my API access was not working. And that's when I realized that the endpoint or the property for that API was just the ChatGPT has just cooked it up. There wasn't an endpoint like that for that API. So this is another thing that you got to be careful. The hallucination problem when you're using it to write scripts and so on. So uh, uh,
Vishal, we have one more question in the Q&A box
yeah,
from Vinayak again.
yes,
He
yes,
says that
Vinay.
IDs integrated with AI will also have proprietary business critical code written by my developers. What chances are that my critical code is read by AI models?
Mm, so when you write your code, it doesn't matter whether it's coming through the intelligent ID's recommendation. Uh, you will still write it, commit it to your own private Git repository so it doesn't go back. However, and this is to be verified, the reason why Apple and Amazon for their own software have forbidden usage of these intelligent tools is because they're not very clear what is the communication back to, say, OpenAI or Mistral or Cloud, or what are these language models. Not that these large language hyperscalers are doing anything, but there is an API call, right? Because when you're using Copilot, right, you're using it on IDE. Copilot has some communication back with github.com. Now, they have obviously gone to court and said it's all clean, but I think there is that issue that is there. But you have to trust these companies and assume that when you write the code, it is committed locally, so they don't see it. So I think that is, you can assume it is safe to use it. But are the biggest companies in the world with the most sophisticated software engineering practices using these tools today? No, because for exactly the same reason. However, they have their own language models, so they build their own language models locally, which makes it you know completely safe because it is in there. Or you use a locally hosted model like Llama, and a technique called RAG to make your data locally stored. So I don't know if that answered your question. It was a bit technical.
Um,
Okay, great. Okay, so but it's a great question, and therefore some of these things that I'm going to share can help you reduce the risk. And I think one of the clear ones is you have to really get a comprehensive unit in testing. So if you and this is something you should negotiate with your developers. You can say, what, we can look at using Copilot or any of the other tools, but I want your unit test and integration test to be really solid. And that's why you should really encourage mutation testing to verify the quality of the tests they've written. So I think you can tell them to use AI, but then add mutation testing on top of your regular testing, so you can test the quality of your test cases. Code reviews, very important. So because a lot of these models are built on code which is not secure, so you have to aggressively shift left, which means if you're using SaaS tools like Imbold or Coverity or Clockwork, and you're using it at your build time, while you start making your teams more productive using AI, autocomplete or auto generate tools, you should literally go left with having, tools like ours or Coverity into your IDEs to ensure that everything is checked at front. So you should really aggressively shift left. And also, a best practice is, create maybe an AI validation into your CI pipeline. What this means, I mean, it means just validate the code that your AI has generated, and maybe have a repository strategy where any AI generated code is checked into a separate branch, and then that branch you have more scrutiny than code that is manually built. So you have to build, a robust testing strategy for it. Uh, Developer education, very important, very, very important. And this is because a lot of developers today have just, people remember earlier, and it is not, it is very serious. The most popular developer assistance tool that was available was Stack Overflow. Everyone was just copying code left, right, and center from Stack Overflow and building it largely. Of course, not everybody. uh, and then it was fine. But now that if you're integrating AI into your development practice, which means you're paying for it or you're investing in the infrastructure, you have to make the developers realize the importance of the code, because now they are trusting on a third party, which is the AI, and ensure that they write good code and don't let it control it. And of course, encourage critical thinking and AI output validation. That is really, really important. There's a question.
So Raja has something to share here. He's
Yes,
saying that I love AI tools for writing unit tests using prompts, especially boundary data and test generations.
right.
So
Yes, yeah, great, great. I mean, uh, that, and I would say add another layer of testing like mutation testing for the test cases that you've written. Okay. Uh, yes. So great. I think Raja, you're doing the right thing, but uh, but then just maybe start writing some mutation testings for the unit test that you're writing. So that is my recommendation. Overall, yes, AI is like an additional technology, additional entity. So you have to have clear policies of AI tool usage. Approval process is important. So if, as I said, an example is maybe have a separate branch to store your AI generated code, run it through a rigorous PR process, a rigorous commit scan, a rigorous mutation testing philosophy to ensure that it is correct. And of course, track on the quality of bugs generated on AI generated code versus human generated code, and you'll get, you can measure your success. So Google has that principle now. Google uses AI for development. They have their own internal model, so they don't depend on external models. But if you have friends in Google, they call it, it's like having a conscience for your code. Um, but Google has a very strong AI review they have a very strong manual process as well for any code that is generated. So that helps them. So this is some of the practices that companies use. Overall, in conclusion, I think always balance the benefits, risk and benefits, depending on what languages you use, what's your environment. Quality concern should be very important. So what I've heard, and I think this goes back to the question, I may not have the percentage of users using AI in development. Microsoft shares or GitHub shares some numbers like, I don't know, 5 million or 3 million people, GitHub users using Copilot, but that is unverified, right? Because you could, like, we are GitHub customers and we have Copilot in our plan, but our developers don't use it. So they may count us as a Copilot customer. So I don't have the data, but the usage is increasing for sure. A lot of web development is being, where people are using code generation, code complete. I haven't heard a lot of it being used for backend systems where there's still C, C++, Java databases. It's coming mostly from the website. A lot of Node.js learnings are happening. But the fact that I have is for every dollar that you're spending on your AI tool, for every dollar, you have to spend at least 1.5x on your quality tools or purpose. That is very clear because while if AI makes you 50% more efficient in generating code, you have to have a corresponding increase in quality spend, which is very bizarre, but that is true. So you have to spend 50% more in your quality tools. And you can't just assume that you have one license that sits in your CI/CD and it manages everyone's build. No, that is leaving it too late. So you have to shift aggressively left. So for every license you get for your developer for an AI tool, you should get one license. If you have it, great. If not, get one license specific to that developer for the software tool. It's always balancing innovation with quality assurance. And uh, today, as I see it, having built an AI, feature in a code quality tool like Embold, uh, we think if the future is not AI developer is going to replace developers. I think it's going to augment developers and make developers, as they say, today you call it developer IQ, right? Someone say a developer IQ of 100 will have a developer IQ of 140. And that is very exciting. So that is, I think, the future of how AI can happen in this space. So that's the end of my talk, and I'll be open for questions and ideas and experiences.
Right. So, if you would like to ask some questions or share some insights or share a story where all of us can learn, we would look forward to hearing from you because in the chat, the context somehow gets lost. So, I would love if anybody is interested to share, talk, simply raise your hand and we can unmute you and you can also share because today is Teachers' Day, right? I mean, teacher, you need not have to have a designation of a teacher to teach. Your children, your neighbor, your friends, your peers, your managers. A stranger can be somebody who taught you something, and your knowledge sharing session conducted in your organizations or mutual learnings are also anybody who gives you some insight is a teacher for you. So I would like to thank Vishal for being the teacher today and thanking him for giving a very insightful session as it helped us understand how organizations can avoid the quality pitfalls of AI tools and ensure how the code can remain solid and secure, right? So from practical risks to, not practical risks, potential risks to practical solutions, right? So now my question to you is, right, is your organization will your organization follow a preventive approach or a corrective approach when it comes with the usage of AI tools? Right now, the percentage of corrective approach may be higher, but then prevention over correction, right? Because the health of your project, your product, your organization is in your hands, right? So I think in frequent health check is preventive, right? So I leave it up to you to decide: are you going to have a preventive approach or a corrective approach, and when the shift will happen from corrective to preventive, right? So it will be great if you can share some key takeaways in the chat box. That one key insight that you got from today's session. So we would also know that it was worth your time and our time to be able to present this session today, right? So don't let AI catch you off guard, right? So before we end, I would just like to hear from you if and while you are typing, we're just getting ready for the quiz. So Vinayak is saying that I like treat your AI like a teenager, trust but verify. Even I like that. So thank you so much. Right? Gaurav is saying prevention is better than cure. Yes, the proverbs really mean a lot if we see how they apply in our day-to-day lives. Right? Thank you so much. Any more sharing? Thank you so much for participating today, Gaurav, Vinayak, Raja, and others in the beginning. I'll have to scroll my chat to remember your names. Rahul, right? Bindeshwar, and everyone else who participated and took out time for today's session, because I'm sure you would have many things to attend, but you showed up today, so it shows you care. And it's our Meteonics responsibility to empower you with the necessary arms and ammunitions for in your fight against um, everything that spoils the security and reliability of your software, right? So Raja says, surprised to know that MNCs are not using the tools they are selling to public. Okay. All right. So over to Pooja. You can keep sharing what you would like to share in the chat box, though we would love to hear your voice. But I understand you may not be able, you may not be in a condition to unmute and speak. But thanks for sharing in the chat box as well. Pooja, can you launch the quiz, please? We are sharing the link in the chat box. Yeah. Um, all right. So please rename yourself, because if you don't rename, we wouldn't know who the winner is, right? And I'm also giving you the link if you would like to have, if you'd like to invite Vishal to and have a more detailed knowledge sharing session with your team. I'll also be sharing a link in the chat box. You can simply ask for uh, make a request. And since you are a webinar attendee, we will give priority to you. And here's the link to make your request. And let's see the quiz. The quiz has been launched. Pooja, you will have to share your screen, I think. Right. All right. So only nine people are participating. Um, can we have some more participation? All right. So we'll wait for a few more seconds, and then we can start the game. So anybody else joining in? Stuck with connection. Connection at your end, or are, because I can see other players joining in. So I hope that issue is resolved for you. Karthik, is it resolved or you're still facing issues? All still connecting. So I think the issue could be at your end, Karthik. Anyone else facing the issue? If not, we're going to start the quiz in three, two, and one. Start the game, Pooja. Uh, Pooja, can you share your computer sound? Otherwise, it's okay. Leave it now. While sharing screen, because the quiz will happen on. Leave it. Don't do anything now. Which practice is crucial for organizations to implement when integrating AI into their software development process? So we have our winner, Rahul. So far, so far. So, sorry, the final question is coming. So at number 3 is Shivansh. At number 2 is Brother Lion. Brother Lion, you are missing your goodie bag because we don't know who you are. So please type in the chat box your name. And our winner is Rahul today. Right. So anything anyone wants to say, ask, or Vishal, do you want to add some closing notes? Pooja, can you unmute Vishal? I would have loved to have a little music and sound to that quiz, but I think Pooja forgot to share the computer sound. All right. So,
So
Vishal, go ahead.
yeah, so I think first of all, thank you everybody for participating. I really appreciate you spending time. And what I've shared is not gospel truth, right? This is purely from a practitioner's perspective, someone who's been a software developer, who started a DevOps company, who's been experimenting with AI tools aggressively, uh, and who is we in Embold are are building really interesting AI features in the coming days. But the core essence of we shouldn't get swayed by AI. It's just we should still be focused on using classical tools will always be there. Code quality, peer reviews, the means will change. It's just like how we communicate with before WhatsApp. I don't know people who remember, we still spoke to our family and friends. We were initially we wrote letters and we had calls and mobile came in and WhatsApp, so we still communicate with our friends, family, customers, but the modus has changed. So I think similarly, software development will still remain the same, but the modus of software which will make us efficient will happen. So be curious, stay motivated, keep an open mind. And one question I think you said where MNCs are not using the tools that they're selling us. No, actually they are, but not in code quality. So they're using AI extensively. Apple is using AI, Tesla is using AI, Microsoft is using AI. But in software development, they are probably using AI, but they're using their own models. Maybe there are people who are using, obviously Microsoft is encouraging its employees to use GitHub Copilot, but as you would understand, everyone wants to build their own solution, and therefore they're cautious. So it's not that they're not using it, but we just don't know how extensively they're using it. So that is an answer for that. Yeah, but overall, I enjoyed the evening. Greetings to everybody from London. I live in London, and yeah, if you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn or through Vandana Ankur, Meteonic. They're a wonderful partners for us. So happy to have a chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishal, for an insightful session. I hope the participants also equally enjoyed the way we enjoyed organizing it and driving this. So thank you so much, Vinayak. And till the time we offer you a new webinar on everything related to DevSecOps. I wish all of you keep growing and keep evolving. And those who have won, my Team Meteonic will be in touch with you on how to deliver the goodie bag to you. Thanks, everyone, once again for your time. Thank you, Karthik. Anyone else wants to say something? We'll just wait for a minute, and then all of you have a great evening or morning, whichever country you are attending the webinar from today. Afternoon, whatever. Learn something new and it's worth the time. Thank you so much, Karthik. Thank you, Shivansh, uh, Shivanesh. I hope I'm pronouncing you correctly. Karthik says, thank you, Vishal and Vanna. It was informative. Thank you for your appreciation and kind words. Right. All right, everyone. See you in the next webinar. Till then, keep growing, keep evolving. Bye for now.